In today's video we will be comparing the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro to the Huawei Matebook 14. I would say these are two of the absolutely most interesting devices in the 14-inch category in the laptop market right now. They have great quality feel to them, similar weight, USB-C charging, similarly good displays, keyboard, trackpad and speaker setups. And it is really hard to choose a winner between the two, but I'm gonna do my best today. I'm W2Best, I make in-depth gear reviews and tutorials, and if you like this kind of content after watching it, I would be super happy if you want to put a like on the video, and if you want to communicate with me, you can do so either in the comment section below, where I'm usually very active, or on Instagram, where I'm also at W2Best. The specification I have here is the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Pro. That is the Intel version with the i5 1135G7 CPU. It's got 16GB of RAM, not upgradable, but this is LPDDR4X RAM running at 4266 MHz. It comes with a 512GB SSD that has some pretty decent speed to it, as you will see later. The Matebook 14 I have is with the AMD Ryzen 5 4600H CPU. It is with 16GB of RAM, however this is a DDR4 RAM running at 2666 MHz. It also comes with a 512GB SSD. I paid about 1200 euros for my Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro here, where I paid about 1000 euros for the Matebook 14. And this is a pretty significant difference and something that will really contribute to how I value the two laptops at the end of this review. As you can see when putting these laptops up side by side like this, they are very similar machines. They almost look ridiculously similar with the same kind of colors, the same kind of materials, the logo printed up top, although in the middle on the Huawei and up in the corner on the Yoga. And also when you hold them, you really get a similar quality feel from both these laptops. And that's a very good thing, because they both have an incredibly high quality feeling to them. And you can really see when you look up close on these edges here that there are no sharp edges, there are no errors made in the production here, which is something that is not super common on laptops in these price categories. So this is a really big plus, I think. Quality feel is amazing. Material and the way it's been put together in the sides. We have big ventilation grills in the back on both of the laptops. We have these little edges that put the laptop up on a little bit of height so that air can flow into the ventilation grills. We have bottom firing speakers on both of the laptops. When looking at the port setup, here is when they start to differ from each other. Because on the Huawei Matebook 14 you have two USB-A ports on the right hand side, and on the Yoga Slim 7 Pro you have one USB-A port and one 3.5mm headphone combo jack. Then on the left hand side you have a USB-C port, which is good for DisplayPort out, charging in, as well as data transfer on the Huawei Matebook 14. You've got the 3.5mm headphone jack there, and you've got an HDMI port. On the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro you have two Thunderbolt ports on the left hand side. If you have the AMD version of the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro, you won't have Thunderbolt there, it will only be USB-C enabled ports. The Yoga Slim 7 Pro weighs in at 1402 grams. The Huawei Matebook 14 weighs in at 1460 grams. The chargers that come with these laptops are both 65 watts, although the Yoga Slim 7 version has a bit of a bulkier charger with a longer charging cable. This can be pretty good if you work far away from a power plug and you need to reach the power port on the laptop. This is a super compact Huawei 65 watt charger, one of the most compact chargers that I have used in any laptop, and this works perfectly to charge the Yoga Slim 7 Pro with, and vice versa. So I usually interchange quite a lot between these chargers. Together with its 65 watt charger, the Yoga Slim 7 Pro weighs in at 1722 grams. Together with its provided charger, the Matebook 14 weighs in at 1,657 grams. So even though the Yoga Slim 7 is lighter, when you add on the original charger to the complete package, it becomes a little bit heavier than the Matebook 14. Let's try out opening these laptops with one hand. In the Matebook 14, this is clearly not something you can do very easily. And in the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, you can do that, but it takes a little extra bit of effort. As you can see there, when I open this laptop up, it automatically starts. It logs me in using the Windows Hello on the camera, and the Huawei won't do that. You have to manually start it by pressing the power button that has a built-in fingerprint reader. So if you press it a little bit longer and the right way, it should start up and automatically log me in from recognizing my fingerprint on that startup press. As you could see there, that worked really well this time. It's not a flawless feature, but it does work once you start getting the hang of it. Now we are getting into the inside of the laptops. And as you can see here, the Huawei Matebook 14 is a 3:2 aspect ratio, so it has a little bit of a taller screen compared to the 16:10 aspect ratio that is in the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. Also, the keyboard area is relatively similar on both of these keyboards. They have a very standard layout and they have similar spacing in between the keys. The keyboard on the Matebook 14 is a low travel keyboard, and this is not a high travel keyboard by any means, but it has a little bit more travel to it and a little bit more kind of response to it. This is a very soft and very silent feeling keyboard, while this is a bit of a clickier feeling keyboard when using it. The trackpads are also very similar in size, and I would say the quality feel of the trackpad is better in the Matebook 14. It is a rock solid trackpad experience where there is no clicking noise to it or any rattling noise at all at any point when using this trackpad. Both soft clicks and hard clicks work really fine, whereas on the Yoga Slim 7 Pro there is a bit of rattling noise in the very bottom of the trackpad. However, when you move up towards the more upper parts of the trackpad, there is no rattling noise. They both track really well, and it is basically just the little bit of less quality feel that I think makes this trackpad a bit of a worse experience compared to the Matebook 14. The only thing I don't really enjoy about the Matebook 14 is that the trackpad, compared to how you put your hands on the palm rest and with the keyboard, means that sometimes my thumb will get onto the trackpad and then the trackpad will be activated, and that palm rest feature is not working completely flawless, so it has activated the trackpad sometimes and moved away and sometimes even clicked on something where it wasn't supposed to click while I was just typing on the keyboard. If we talk a little bit more about the screens, they are very similar in some instances. They are both glossy screens. They both have a very good brightness and a good color accuracy. And the brightness is around 400 nits, which is what I would say that you need when you have a glossy screen to be able to see it without too much reflections when you're using it outside. This does take its toll on the battery life though, so if you run these guys on max brightness, you will not have the best battery life as you can get in, for example, a Full HD matte screen like the regular Yoga Slim 7 has. This Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 has a 90 Hz screen, which I find to be a pretty big plus when it comes to overall usability, but mainly when it comes to playing some games. As this guy with the Intel CPU also has Thunderbolt, you can plug it into an eGPU and then you can play games at very high frame rates using this 90 Hz screen as your only screen. This is a 60Hz screen, and it's really not a bad screen by any means. However, when it comes to gaming, it's not the best of experiences. I feel like it's lacking a little bit of fast response time in general, so if gaming is a priority for you, you would definitely prefer using the Yoga Slim 7 Pro if you want to use the built-in monitor. Both of the machines have a little bit of backlight bleed in the top part of the monitor, and since they are both 16:10 respectively 3:2 aspect ratio, this means that if you watch media, you might see a bit of the backlight bleed if you have these black borders and then you watch in a dark room, for example. That could be a little bit of a disturbance, but I have never found it to be disturbing in any of my daily use of these two machines. If you use your laptop outside a lot, I wouldn't say that these are the best devices, because they both have very glossy screens. And even though you can turn them up to pretty high brightness, as I have done here, these are both running at max brightness right now. You still see a lot of reflections going on in the screen. It works to use them outside, but if it is direct sunlight, it is probably not going to work very well for you, and I would recommend getting a matte screen instead for that kind of use, if that is one of your main use cases. Let's lean in and listen for coil whine in these units. I have had pretty good experiences with them, and I think I've got two good units that don't come with a lot of annoying noises, but let's double check it. There is a tiny, very low coil whine noise coming from the Matebook 14, but it's really not audible almost even when leaning in towards the keyboard, so I'm really being nitpicky here. You can't hear anything if you don't lean very close into the keyboard. And this unit of Yoga Slim 7 Pro has no coil whine whatsoever, and it's one of the most silent units I have been using in pretty much all aspects of it, both when it comes to coil whine and idle fan noise. As I mentioned before, the Matebook 14 comes with a fingerprint reader that is integrated in the power button. The Yoga Slim 7 Pro does not come with a fingerprint reader. It runs Windows Hello with its camera that is up here on top of the screen. And there we come to another very important difference between the two machines. The camera on the Matebook 14 is hidden down here in the keyboard area. This is great for privacy reasons, however it means that the angle of the camera when using it placed on a table is pretty annoying, and I think this is one of the main reasons why I kind of stopped using the Matebook 14 for work. All meetings that are happening pretty much are video meetings, and it's super important to have an as good experience as possible when running those video meetings. This is the camera comparison between the two units. And as you can see, the camera on the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro is pretty decent. Compared to other Lenovo devices, it is a much better camera experience. The quality of the camera in the Matebook 14 is actually really good. It's just this fact that it is placed down there in the keyboard area, so if I type on the keyboard a little bit, you will see my fingers being completely giant sausages on the screen, which is just making it hard to actually use in any kind of setting where I would use the camera. Also, this means that when placing the laptop on a table, you can't easily adjust the camera in the Matebook 14 because it sits in one specific angle, whereas on the Yoga Slim 7 Pro you can adjust the camera the way you want it to sit. The microphones are also an interesting difference here, because I've had very positive comments on using the microphones in the Matebook 14, but not very positive comments on using the microphones with the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. So I feel like I'm more in need of a headset with microphone when I'm using the Yoga Slim 7 Pro compared to the Matebook 14. This is the audio from the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, and then right afterwards there will be the audio from the Matebook 14. Did you just get a new laptop or a new monitor for your computer setup? In today's video we are going to go through how to test your new laptop or monitor to make sure that it's a worthy panel that you can keep for many years to come. I'm W2Best, I make in-depth gear reviews and tutorials, and if you like this video after watching it, I would be super happy if you wanted to put a like on the video, and maybe also subscribe to this channel. That gives me a ton of motivation to bring out new content moving forward. Did you just get a new laptop or a new monitor for your computer setup? In today's video we are going to go through how to test your new laptop or monitor to make sure that it's a worthy panel that you can keep for many years to come. I'm W2Best, I make in-depth gear reviews and tutorials, and if you like this video after watching it, I would be super happy if you wanted to put a like on the video, and maybe also subscribe to this channel. That gives me a ton of motivation to bring out new content moving forward. In both these cases, this is running on max volume, so you could hear the difference in volume. And I would say that it is a little bit of a win to the Matebook 14. However, it's not by any big difference. And the speaker setup here is also really good. When we have the video running like this, we can also see that there are a bit bigger borders in the top and in the bottom of the 3:2 aspect ratio laptop, which is the Matebook 14. Here we have a 16:10 aspect ratio, and we have a bit smaller borders when playing back this kind of 16:9 aspect ratio video. When it comes to upgradability, they are both pretty similar. You can upgrade the SSD in them, but you cannot upgrade RAM in any of these laptops. So you have to get the kind of RAM you want from the moment you purchase it. Battery life is an interesting thing in both of these laptops. Because they have so high resolution and very bright monitors that are also glossy, and in the case of the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, a 90Hz monitor, these are really high power consuming monitors. And that is really not good if you want to run the laptop on battery power a lot. I would say my estimated battery life when using these devices are around 5 to 6 hours for the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, and maybe a little bit better, 6-7 hours for the Matebook 14. However, if you use it in a more intense way, I would say that this guy goes down quite a lot. Sometimes it can go down even to like around 3 or 4 hours. And that is really not enough for me when it comes to using a productivity laptop. So that's a bit of a pity. And the way you can get it to run at better battery life, you really want to take down the brightness quite a lot. But you can see there, as soon as you take down the brightness on these units, you're starting to see much more reflections in the screen, and it's actually quite hard to use them on the lower brightness settings. Now we have the battery at 93% in this guy, and when I turn the brightness down like this, it says that it's a battery life of 10 hours and 30 minutes. In the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, we have 96% battery, and with this kind of setting, it says that it's 8 hours of battery life remaining. I would say that both of those estimates made by Windows are very optimistic. And if you want to see the battery tests I've done of the two units, you can head over to my full reviews, where I talk a bit more in depth about it. If you want really awesome battery life, you should really go for something like the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 with a matte Full HD screen that really gives you a much higher battery life compared to both of these units. This is not in any way a comparison that will focus on the performance of these units, because the performance differs so much depending on what specifications you get of each machine. I have the Huawei Matebook 14 with the AMD Ryzen 5 4600H CPU, and I have the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro with the Intel i5 1135G7. These are really different processors, because this guy is a 4-core CPU with 8 threads with a base clock speed of 2.42 GHz, and this guy is a 6-core 12-thread CPU with a base clock speed of 3 GHz. The Ryzen CPU here is a 45-watt chip, whereas this guy is a 15-watt chip. So they have a very different opportunity when it comes to scoring well in performance tests. However, what I think is actually interesting here is to know how well the laptops are able to keep themselves cool when you are running a stress test on them. Probably, regardless of which of the laptops you pick, you will have a decent performing machine for any of your productivity or office kind of tasks. If you go up to really high intensity tasks, you might want something that is even more powerful and maybe got a dedicated GPU on board, which is not present in any of these machines. But let's start running a Cinebench R23 test with both of the laptops plugged in and see how well they are able to keep themselves cool and how much fan noise we can hear from the two different units. We have been running about 2 minutes of the test so far, and the Matebook 14 is at a very consistent 98 degrees CPU temperature, whereas the Yoga Slim 7 Pro is around 75 degrees maximum. Let's check out the exterior and see how hot it gets. The Matebook 14 is around 37 degrees, and we can find some parts that hit around 40 degrees. 44 degrees up top there is the most I can find. The Yoga Slim 7 Pro in its hottest part here is around 35, 36, 37, 37 and a half. Is the hottest I can see here on the Yoga with the exhaust. Then how about fan noise? They both are running the fans and they are not loud by any means. We have the fans in some kind of medium level, I would say, so it's not really like running at full speed. And it's really not annoying. I mean, I would be fine with this kind of fan noise even in a more crowded environment, but you never really run stress tests in those environments, so I guess that's not a big thing. The stress test is finished, and the Huawei Matebook 14 landed at 7,257 points. The max temperature in the test was 103 degrees. Then we have the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. It landed at 5,200 points, and the max temperature on the CPU was 86 degrees during the test. The SSD speed of the Matebook 14 is 3,435 megabytes per second read and 2,719 megabytes per second write. The SSD speed of the Yoga Slim 7 Pro is 3,470 megabytes per second read, 2,742 megabytes per second write. So let's conclude this review and decide which one would I pick when I get the choice. I have a few different ways of deciding this, and the main way I do is when I have a regular workday and I will like pick a laptop from my kitchen table and I placed both of these guys on the kitchen table, which one would I go for most of the time? And that test is easily won by the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 Pro. When I have both of the laptops in the house and I get to pick one of them to use, it will be the Lenovo that takes the win. However, if I would also take into consideration the difference in price and the fact that the Yoga Slim 7 Pro costs 200 euros more, that's a good 20% extra on price, I would say that the coin flips and the Matebook 14 becomes the best value for money of the two devices. If you primarily work on the go or for example while traveling and you need a really good battery life, I would really recommend neither of these devices. The super high brightness glossy screens with high resolution and also high refresh rate means that the battery life will be drained pretty quickly, and it doesn't really matter what settings you put them to, they will still drain the battery pretty quickly. So if you want amazing battery life, I really think you should look elsewhere, and probably you should look at something with a full HD panel with matte screens so that you can run them at a lower brightness and not get that much reflections in the screens. That is it for this review and comparison, and I hope you enjoyed me comparing these two devices. If you have any other questions about the two machines, you can ask them down in the comment section below, where I'm usually pretty active. I'm W2Best, I make in-depth reviews and tutorials, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.